Hello everyone, I'm Jason Sikes, aka the Tech Rancher, and this is my solution for homework lesson number 21. The lessons are provided by Paul McWhorter. This lesson is called Raspberry Pi Pico W. You can find him on YouTube at Paul McWhorter or on his website at www.toptechboy.com. Let him know I sent you. It would mean a lot to me. Alright, enough promoting about Paul. Let's get into what he wanted us to do. He said he wanted us to do something similar that we did in the lesson 20, which was using the DHT11 and a push button. But this time, when we pushed the push button, instead of displaying the temperature and humidity, he wants us also to switch, well, just like we did last time we switched over from Fahrenheit to Celsius by pushing the button. This time he wants us to toggle with the push button the temperature, the humidity, and I add in the heat index. And then my second button I'm doing will convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit back to Celsius. This is a similar layout that we did on 20, so I'm going to go pretty quick here. This is Raspberry Pi Pico W. The DHT11, this is representing 22, I know. Don't have a 11 in my library, so I'm using this 22. And my two push buttons, the pins are the same as 20. If you don't know the layout, look it up or watch lesson number 20. Alright, let's see how this works. Let's switch over here. And, well, we already have that desk camera on. We actually need to go over here to our code. There we go. And let's get this started. You can see it says here to press button A to toggle between the temperature, humidity, and heat index. Press button B to toggle between the Celsius and Fahrenheit. Well, let's just do that. You can see down here button A. I'm going to press button A. I press button A. There we go. We got press button A, and it says temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. Well, let's press button B and watch. Well, there's Fahrenheit, 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I thought it was kind of warm in here in my office. If I press button A again, because I'm going to see what the humidity is, it says there's 46 degrees humidity. I did not do anything with the toggle B because can't really change it. It's already percent. So, well, I guess I could have done it in decimal form, but maybe the next time. And let's press A again. And we get the heat index, and this is in Celsius, 27.13. Let's press B and convert this over to Fahrenheit, 80.83. So it said it was 80, and it feels like it's 80. Pretty cool. All right, now, since we saw how it works, let's scoot this down, and let's look at what the code does. Brought in my library machine and imported a pin class. Brought in time, imported the sleep class. Brought in the library of DHT with the class of DHT11. And I'm importing math to be able to do the heat index conversions. Bring in my variables, pin 14, pin 15, and pin 28, representing temperature, conversion button, and a data sensor off the temperature sensor. Doing my time delay is 250 milliseconds. I know the data sheet says you're not supposed to do it more than 1 second in between. So far it's been doing really good at 250 milliseconds, so I keep my fingers crossed, make sure don't tear up anything there. Okay, is Celsius is true because that is the way it returns the data as in Celsius, so we're going to go ahead and keep it as true to help run through our if statements. And then we have temperature button state 1 and temperature button state old 1, and then conversion button state now 1 and old 1. These will be able to toggle in between our push buttons and to be able to know where we're at, which state we're at the time. And then I have new state as 0 and display new as high. These are what I'm using to be able to do the nested if statements, to be able to toggle in between the temperature, the humidity, and the heat index, and understand for the conversion of Celsius to Fahrenheit. Did our objects of the button a temp and a button conversion, A and B, and then our then set up the sensor. I know I read in the notes on MicroPython that we don't have to do the pin layout and all this other silly stuff, but I haven't tried it to test it to see if it works or not. So I'm going to go ahead and continue what Paul had taught us. Did my DHT11, set up the pin out, and then pin down, and then put it in the sensor, and then run it through the object of the function of, well, the class of a DHT11, and bring in the argument of the pin object. Then we got to my functions. Oops, my mouse button must be getting, battery must be getting dead on it. Okay, we're doing the functions, and then we're doing conversion to Fahrenheit, conversion to Celsius. Google for those, you can get those. I just went ahead and put them in a function to make it easier. And then my conversion to heat index. I found this on the National Weather Service's website. It did a really good job explaining everything about this. It takes it and has to put it in the Fahrenheit form. Then it runs it through the math formulas of bringing in relative humidity, or which is our humidity, and then does the math calculations to bring it back as Fahrenheit. At the very end, I'm putting in the argument if it's Fahrenheit that it was brought in with the Boolean. If it was Fahrenheit that it was brought in, where is that? That is a good. Oh yeah, here it is. I'm sorry. Just whoo. Fahrenheit that was brought in, and this is a Boolean. If I did put in the argument as it's being true, if it is Celsius, it will go ahead and run it through its Celsius conversion and return it as a Celsius. Then I went ahead and set up our information that we need to be able to run the buttons, and then we did our program loop. We did a try and accept with keyboard and interrupt. I just said program's end, so I know it's shut out of the loop. While true, as Paul always says, true is true, and it was continuous loop until you do an interrupt. We read from our temperature button and read from our conversion button, and then we initialize the sensor to measure, and then we captured in our variable the temperature, and in the heat index in our variable to capture the humidity. Not heat index, sorry about that. And then we went ahead and started with our if statements. If the temperature button state old is 0, meaning that we pushed it down, and as we're lifting it up, it converts over to now 1. We enter into this if statement. And then I've got a nested if statements to be able to do the toggling between. If it is a new state 0 and display is high, meaning that it went through my cycle already, but that's what I established at the very first beginning up here in the variable is high. So this is going to be our first one, and if it's high, then it says we can print out temperature as Celsius, change our status. Then we go down to an else if statement. If it says it's temperature, because we changed it to temperature, and our new status is 1 because we said new status is 1. Then we give it the humidity, and then we change the status and humidity, and then we same thing for the heat index. Okay, now let's go down here for the conversion button. It's the same as doing for the temperature, so we're reading conversion button old 0 and the conversion button now. So meaning that I pressed the button and I'm releasing it up, it allows us to get into this. And then we're checking to see if the display is temp, and if it's Celsius, we're going to go ahead and convert it over to Fahrenheit using our conversion. And then we're going to change is Celsius to false, and then same thing we're going to call down here. If it's false and it's still temperature, convert it back to Celsius. And then we got our display for heat index, and same thing. If this is true, we'll go into the, after realizing that the display is set for heat index, we're going to run it through our function and return it. We're saying that this is not Celsius, this is Fahrenheit, and it's going to display it as a Fahrenheit, converting back over to Celsius, now false, and we're going to display it as Celsius when we press the button again. Then we're converting over the temp button to the new status will be now logged into the old button. Same thing, conversion status now will be now logged into the old, and then we're doing a delay of 250 milliseconds. Pretty straightforward and simple, and we already saw the solution. So thanks for hanging around and let me explain how I coded it. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down below and I'll do my best to try to answer them. Until then, be safe out there, everyone.